Okay, we are live,
So,
coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today. We have got a great guest with us today this week here on the Jiggy Jaguar Experience. Micha Angela is with us, and
what's up, Jaguar?
you are amazing, my friend. I am freshly back from Chicago, where two bald guys drove a guy who was supposed to be running a porn con across the street. Absolutely insane. I got a guy who dressed like me at a pizza place beat up. Well, I didn't get him beat up. The security that they had hired at the porn con got him beat up. And we scared a whole bunch of little woke people across the street into thinking, oh, I might come into the convention. Oh! So, Micah, how are you, my friend?
Wow, I hadn't heard about any
I
of
had quite the
that.
weekend. I had quite the weekend. I
I,
didn't do anything. It's amazing.
oh my God, I wonder if that's the same security group that
Oh, I would
I've had
almost assume. I
issues
would
with.
almost assume. So
Wow,
you had quite the weekend.
wow, wow.
Take us through all this
Yes,
and
God, it was rough.
talk to
But
us about
actually,
all
it was
this
it was good. I
craziness.
hope that it can be worked out because, um, well, I just hope it can be worked out.
Well, they might
Um,
they might tweet about you and then pin it like they do other people. So you never know. And then you'll get called everything from a trafficker to a groomer to everything. So, but
oh,
enough
well.
about me. We're here to talk about you, my friend. You are the guest of the show. Bring us up to speed on first of all what you've been up to, and then let's take a look at this Chicago nonsense.
Yeah, okay. Well then, it's been a heck of a year for me since I was last on your show. I've been through
Yep.
some surgeries and had some crazy recoveries that are also part of maybe what we can talk about a little bit today. Um, Chicago, goodness, about 3 weeks prior to the event over at Exxxotica, I had spoken to Ricky, the seminar coordinator,
Yeah.
and we had discussed security, specifically
Yep.
in relation to the political state of the world, um, the ridiculousness that I've been through personally over the past few years that have led me to hair all in me, being hypersensitive to my surroundings, a little bit of PTS probably, and the just the importance for the security to be on the same page as the performers, and also the the difference between the performers or the show staff and then the general public, right?
Yeah.
Um, Good God, Yeti. I love that cat so much, but good Lord, he's hairy. And so we got there on Friday to get our will call VIP, or the little black wristbands that they gave, which that's the first thing that I think needs to be discussed is that the credentialing of the
Maybe
seminar people
we are
is
still here. There we are. Okay.
uh, did we jump?
My I'm broadcasting from the vortex, so God knows. But go ahead, my friend.
Okay, so then the conversation that we had with the security folks was just about the importance of the congruency of the security team in regard to the adult industry, the potentials that a general public event
Yep.
is prone to having. And then so Friday we picked up our credentials, which were a simple, just a little black wristband, which ultimately I don't think is enough to actually to separate somebody who's part of the show from the general public.
Yes.
So the first day after we had picked up our credentials from Will Call, we were walking back through the little sky tunnels there in Chicago,
Yep.
and I met the security guard. And you know me, Jay. I've got swords in a bunch of different fires, and one of them is being a captain in the merchant marine. So I've got that eye for a uniform or not in this case. And here's this security guy, big word, security, written across his back, like,
Yes.
right? But his collar, the guy looked kind of like Napoleon Dynamite. He definitely looked like he could use a hand. And I was happy. I was in I was like, oh my God, we're in Exxxotica. So Micha Angelea character, the flirty, the loving, caring, flirtatious, bubbly party girl was emerging after having been beaten on for the past 4 years. It seems like. Anyway, sorry, I tapped the guy on the shoulder as we passed him. I gave him a finger
Uh-oh.
tap. Literally
Uh-oh.
a one finger tap. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Security Man. I was like, can I help you fix your collar? No kidding. Don't touch me! Don't fucking
Yep.
touch me! Oh
Yep.
my God.
Yep.
I'm
Here we
sorry.
go.
Okay, well, can we fix your collar? Don't touch me! Don't. Okay. Okay. Sorry. And we just kept walking on. Um. So then, I don't know. A bunch of moments later, I ran into Ricky, the coordinator, and I told her that had happened. I was like, God, one of your security guards was like super duper aggressive. And I was just trying to help him fix his collar because literally on one side of his collar it was like jacked completely inside out, and on the other side it was like sticking straight up.
Yep.
And the twist happened in the back where he couldn't see it. So I was just trying to help. I figured a uniformed person might
Yes.
on. They were all good. And since I wanted to be and felt like I was part of the show, I was just trying to help. I wasn't making it. I didn't want to be like, rude about it. I was actually kind of trying to be quiet and sort of passive. Anyway, the guy went off crazy. So when I told Ricky about it, she's like, "Oh my God, who is this guy?" And I don't know who he was, but she told me to take his picture. So I took his picture the next time we saw him, which,
Uh-oh.
good Lord, that's what he said. He was like, "Oh, you take my picture. This isn't going to end well." Well, then he started following me like a stalker, dude. He was following my friend and I. We were heading down the tunnels, and I could hear him behind me making a police report, like calling it in. And we were heading out towards the parking lot. And good Lord, I've had enough of that in my life over the past bunch of years. So the moment I realized that I had a stalker, security guy, somebody who's going to behave like that,
Yep.
that I couldn't trust on the security team that I was supposed to, have spoken about directly, right? To like prevent any of that from happening. And is this light blinding us out here a little bit? So it triggered a whole, being a hate crime assault survivor, being a rape survivor, being an internal assault within the industry survivor, having been politically targeted and run through the gamut with some of these agencies that I've been dealing with out west, which are all done and sealed with. I mean, the definite discriminatory nature of his reaction was unacceptable to further attendance.
Yes.
And I asked Exxxotica, if you can get him off the floor tomorrow, I will be on the floor. I'll hang out all day. I'll interact with the world, and then we'll give the seminar at 9:15. And it wasn't until, I don't know, probably about 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday where the decision was handed down that man would remain on the floor, and that he had been instructed to stay away from my seminar area. But there's no way I could, go be on the floor with that guy.
And this is the issues that this organization seems to be having. I know that they started a thing this year. They did a soft launch of it in Chicago. It's called Spark. It is supposed to be for the gays, transgender, lesbian, the whole crew. And this is directly because of a few years ago, there were a few trans models in New Jersey, I understand, who they were having some issues with security. They were having no security essentially in their area, and they felt unsafe, so they got a hold of the chief operating officer, Mr. Dan Davis over there, and him in his cargo shorts and his torn Metallica t-shirts, they basically asked him for additional security. They said, we don't feel safe. We want to come to your event. We want to spend money on booths. We want to come there. We don't feel safe. And his attitude was, well, then don't come. That's what he told them. He said, no, don't come then. Well, that community, they got it spread through their community that I guess were not wanted. And so this was their way of saying, come on back. We're all inclusive. Come back. We want everybody here. And from what I understand, Spark was a big joke. And this makes it even more of a big joke that you're in that community. And they basically said, sorry.
That's disappointing. I hadn't even heard that Spark was a joke. I knew some folks who were going to supposedly participate in it, but obviously I wasn't there, so I don't really know how that went over. But I the third party security measures. When we attended an AVN or an XBiz.
Well, my feeling on
Teams,
this
they're
my
different.
feeling on this is that if you have this guy who is giving you some problems and you don't feel safe and you don't want him there, assign him to the hotel, because hell, they were spending all this time hoping that me and Giovanni, because we were tweeting about coming across the street to buy a pizza, they were waiting on us with bated breath to give us all sorts of problems. Send that guy over there. Take him away from the expo so you can do your seminar, so you can do your event and be out there for your fans. Send him over to the pizza place so he can hang out all day and wait on my dumb ass. But it's little
I didn't
things
even
like
know that'd
that
be an
that they
option,
could have
right?
done.
They could have totally done that. They could have, I mean, the guy,
You
it turns
can
out he's,
reassign the guy other places, or just tell him, "Hey, we got some
don't come to work
problems with
today.
this with this
Yes,
Micha
this is a secure event.
Angela." All you got to do is sit him
I don't know.
down and say, "Hey, we got some problems with this Micha Angela. She's got some problem with you. I don't know what the problem is. She's a real weirdo. Why don't you just take the day off?" They could have handled it that way, but instead, they
Yeah,
just
they
go
could have. They
ahead
could have
and
certainly done
say,
that, couldn't they?
"No,
She's just such a
um,
freak. This one, you just don't want to deal with this one. So we're just gonna
yeah,
to
yeah,
protect you, Mr. Off-Duty,
yeah."
because he was an off-duty police officer. So to protect the thin blue line, we're just gonna put you over here for this.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. You
maybe,
could have you could have handled it several different ways. You could have
you
went to him and done
know.
like
I
I
mean, that
did,
really
fade
wasn't the
fade the
case,
heat to
but I
you.
mean,
They could have faded the heat to you, or they could have just reassigned him, or they could have just said, "Hey, we don't want any problems. I don't know where the problem started. I don't know what's going on, and I don't care. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let her do her thing, and we're gonna just give you the day off, and then you can come back on Sunday and and
that
and
would have
do
been the
that."
ultimate solution. Because the at first, I thought, okay, well, if this is the way it's going to be, I'll show up at 8:45. Give the seminar at 9:15 to 10 o'clock, and then bail,
Yeah.
because I can't let my hair down if I and that whole public event, the whole setup for Exxxotica is going to be hard because of it being a public interaction thing. The security team, the security. I honestly, I wouldn't. I don't have a solution. I don't have a other than a dedicated security team as opposed to a third party group. But I know that with that comes expense and time, man hours and whatnot. So I don't have an answer other than what you just said. Give that one guy a
Yeah.
day off. Set a precedent for what is accepted behavior and what isn't. This was and that was a what. I don't know how much it. I'm not even gonna do some simple addition to figure out how much it took to get from Arcata, California, all the way to Chicago. Not to mention, I'm just now getting over airport flu. and the airline absolutely ruined my journey to make it so that by the time I even arrived there on Friday after leaving California or leaving my house in California at 12 noon on Thursday, I didn't get to Chicago until 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And
Yeah.
then went and got my wheel, and then they lost my luggage, and my luggage had me, and it was just a mess. So, yeah, that security guy should have been grateful that I was even in the mood to help with his car, because I'd had a hell of
Well,
a day at that
I'll
point.
tell you,
And
I have
you
seen
should be so lucky.
similar issues with all this in the past where this this weird kind of pirate ship of a crew over there, nobody knows what they're doing from day to day, because I know, for instance, last year, um Giovanni and I and Lola did a incredible seminar. People loved it. We got a lot of feedback. They got a lot of great feedback. And so much so that the seminar people, I think her name was Brittany, she got a hold of Giovanni, and she's like, "Hey, I want you to come do this at every single one we do." She goes, "Because this got some great feedback. We want to position you at a different point. We want to do all these things. This would be great, 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 great." So he responds to her. Now, of course, he hits reply all because Dan doesn't want to be left off all the emails. So he hits reply all. So Dan gets this email of, your staff saying that he's welcome at your event. So he then gets an email back from Brittany about an hour later. I'm sure she got yelled at, because that's what Dan loves to do. And she's like, "Well, the opportunity is no longer on the table. I have circumstances beyond my control, and we got to revoke this opportunity." Here's the thing: the left hand and the right hand aren't talking to each other, and this is another one of those situations. You went and expressed safety concerns, and they make a real big deal about safety, 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 safety over there. And at the end of the day, Dan and the rest of them went, safety, who cares? So you end up wasting a lot of your time to get there. Expense, airplane, all this stuff. And now, because one little guy who probably doesn't even actually work for the organization, he probably just some local guy.
He was an off-duty local cop.
Yeah.
Go figure, right? Um,
It's that simple. They
it's
could have
it,
fixed it.
it 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 does just outline, how the organization 3X events, we've had a great working business relationship, and then I got a similar communication from Brittany in regard to all of the locations as well, and I'd be happy to do
Yeah.
it. I'd still be happy to do it, but um, the security for my niche of the industry and its performers is
Yes.
different, and it demands different aspects of
Yes.
negotiation and also positioning than does the security for the rest of the industry's performers.
Yeah.
And it needs to be also, somebody like me who's just been through the ringer 15 times and back, and I'm still alive to talk about it. Um, I am broken, and it is difficult for me to bring the psychology, the performer psychology, especially nowadays because of the traumas and the PTS that I carry, which is a horrible burden. I mean, it's not
Yep.
something I'm
Yep.
happy with at all. But I definitely am capable of, and I'm good with working beyond it. But if it gets triggered, or if it gets tripped, like a red flag type thing, then it's difficult to ignore. Um,
Yes.
I just had an incident yesterday with an old. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. Sorry, world. With a well seasoned veteran, a Stonewall veteran from the original trans civil rights movement, um, who was discounting a journal entry that I had written about 7 weeks post-operative from my recent colonic vaginoplasty that was performed back in October. So I wrote this sometime in mid to late December, and it was very much an unfiltered account of what I had experienced, and it was written in a manner that I was applying it to the doctor who had performed the surgery on me, because the postoperative instructions I had received were written for the inversion technique, which is the earlier style of GRS, gender reassignment surgery.
Oh yeah.
Not that colonic vaginoplasty is like the new thing, but it is a newer procedure. It's a lot more invasive, and there's a lot more recovery involved with it. So my account of the recovery at week 7 was met with I had shared it to a Stop Transphobia group here on Facebook, and it was met with a lot of anger, I'm going to call it, from within the community, within the trans community, in regard to it being a scare tactic, as though it was written to scare people. When it was written, from the most clear, non-filtered perspective of, being right in the middle of it, and how I wasn't prepared by what the doctors had told me and what I experienced, and how if I knew, the difference there, I would have better prepared myself.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to read it here if you want me to read it. I can
Yes,
post
go
it.
ahead. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, if you've
You want me to
got
read
it,
it?
that would be
Really,
awesome.
we'll
Yeah,
take it.
go
Yeah,
ahead. We'll give you the floor here.
yeah. It was written for Dr. Alexander Sinclair down in Beverly Hills, who was the plastic surgeon part of my surgery. My surgery was a 2-part thing because of it being related to colonic nature. It involved a colorectal specialist who is a guy named
Yeah.
Dr. Avo Artinian. So he's mentioned it a couple of times in this, but it just reads so. You've decided to embark on the journey known as colonic vaginoplasty. You know yourself, and this is the path you've chosen to correct that anomaly that you were handed at birth. Big step. Here. You're going to need 24-hour-a-day care for the first few weeks. Going at this one alone is not only dangerous, but would also be unwise. Your digestive system will be wrecked, and you should expect to be incontinent for weeks as your pelvic floor recovers. You should have 150 to 200 pairs of Depends or similar on hand for this. The reason I say that was because the incontinence, every time I would pee, every time I would have a bowel movement, there was an uncertainty to whether or not I'd even make it to the toilet.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of one-time use diaper usage. It was like I'd wear it till the next time I had to pee. So I went through a lot of them, but that was how I stayed clean and stayed dry during the whole, the first bunch of weeks of it. Make sure your caregiver is reliable. It can drive to fetch prescriptions and get you to follow up appointments. Be comfortable being seen naked and vulnerable by them. Upon waking up in the recovery room, make sure to remind your care team for your pain management medication. Do not let them forget you. What happened to me was the very first night I was there, my nighttime nurse didn't put an order in for another Dilaudid. So the very first night after my initial Dilaudid tube ran out, I had no pain meds. And it was
Oh no.
excruciating. It was the worst thing I'd ever, it was bad. And it took them about 2 hours before they could get a prescription from the pharmacy. And I guess they have to brew, or they got to do something to create this syringe. So they couldn't just bring another one up. So it took forever for another one to come in. And that forever was a long forever. They did give me some sort of a temporary thing that helped for a little bit, but they shouldn't have forgotten my meds. The pain will be the worst in the first 4 weeks. It will be excruciating if not properly managed, promptly and correctly. So you're your own advocate. You're your own voice, and you're your own. You have to be vigilant. At least in my case, that's what I had to do. From some of the feedback that I received, that's not the case in everybody's experience, which I hope is the case, because you would think what I went through was almost like a chop shop. The hospital was also terrible. It was called Southern California Hospital at Culver City, which that sounds like Acme General from the start. When I heard that, I was like, ugh.
Acme
I
General.
don't know about this place, right? It's St. God Memorial. So then, upon waking up in the recovery room, make sure to remind your care team for your pain management medication. Don't let them forget you. The pain will be worse in the first 4 weeks. The pain will be excruciating if not properly managed, promptly and correctly following your surgery. You are your own advocate. Figure on double dosing what you would normally need for pain management. This will be one of the most pain-prone events of your life, but it doesn't have to hurt. It can be managed. My take-home medication, the hydrocodone that they had me on, was too light of a dose, and I needed more. You know, I've been a lifetime psychonaut, and hell, I've been following fish all my life. So that you know, I needed more than just a really low dose of pain pills.
Yes.
You know, so upon discharge from your hospital, and if you're not going to an aftercare facility, you'll need to go home immediately to a clean and prearranged environment. Make sure to have all the supplies you will need for that first week. It'll be difficult for your caregiver to go far from you during that time. Pet food, cannabis, pre-surgical prescriptions, gentle foods for post-op recovery, diapers, bottled water, fruit juices, etc. Right? You'll be very dependent on your toilet and bathroom for weeks, so stock it well. Your first bowel movement after colonic vaginoplasty surgery will be one of the scariest moments of your life.
Yes,
Okay?
I bet you it
Try
would
to
be.
relax and just let it happen, right? Some bleeding is normal. Red blood indicates a lower GI, which is okay. If your stool becomes or remains black like coffee grounds, that's when you want to see Dr. Artinian, who is my colorectal specialist for this, because he deals with everything that, you know, up inside.
Well, so I hate to cut you off on this, but I do have
Oh
some
no!
questions.
Okay,
I
I
have
was
some
going to say, I
questions with
was
all
hoping you
this.
weren't going to be like, we're not going to go forward with it, because I'm
No,
like,
no, 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 no. What I was trying to
yeah.
figure out was the experience as bad as it was warning you that it could be?
I don't know how you can warn anybody for some of what I went through.
Yeah. So,
Now, is it that way for everybody? I hope not. But
God,
right,
I hope
this is
not.
the feedback. The feedback that I received is like, by telling this story, I guess I'm hoping to prepare anyone who may be going that direction, or anybody
Yeah.
who's curious about how it, you know, God, what happens after that? You know, to prepare them, right? So that,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
it's scary. And I got a lot of feedback saying, oh, you're scared. This is a scare tactic. And one person was like, oh, I've got to go through that. And thanks a lot. Like, you know, really like angry at me for telling a story. And I just, you know, if it was scary, it is scary to read. It was
Well,
scary to
yeah.
imagine what, if it's scary to read, imagine what it was to experience.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just trying to share it, and if it is preparation for the worst and hoping for the best, then good God, I hope this is the worst. You know, short of actually not waking up, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe the hospital experience was horrible. I was dropped in the hospital, which
Oh,
created
no.
some serious pain that I may still be dealing with issues from, which I might get to here the next, you know, as I get on with the further description of this whole thing. But yeah, my
So
life has irreparably changed. It has definitely changed.
so take
You
me
know, so
through
that
the part there of them dropping you. That just sounds horrifying.
that was gnarly. Can I finish this read here real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I didn't
And
mean
then
to
I'll
break in.
totally go into that. I'll totally go
I
into
just
the
had
details.
questions. So yes, go ahead. I'll get the hell out of the way and let you finish, my friend.
Okay, it'd be real quick. Well, maybe not
Yeah.
real quick because I got to read it. But so dilation is the next big challenge you're going to face when you arrive for your post-op follow-up appointment about a week after discharge. You can expect to have your Foley catheter yanked, and at this point, well, anyway, it's there. It'll be told when it's time to start dilating. Um, I was in a lot of pain at this point, and dilating was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Are you out of your fucking mind?"
Yeah.
I am not touching that shit at all because they didn't have my pain medication managed correctly. Um, Having 4 medical grade surgical stent tubes in the 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and full 1 inch diameter, each being 2 to 3.5 inches long, but so that they can drain. The colonic vaginoplasty doesn't have as much of a possibility for fusing and closing up on itself as the penile inversion technique, because the only
Yeah.
part of it that is capable of fusing to itself is the very opening, because the rest of it is a length of colon. Yeah, you're going to need the full length dilators eventually, but there in the beginning you don't. Your internal colon will not close up and therefore doesn't need regular dilation. Your organs, however, will impose themselves on the newly placed neovagina, especially during the first few months as things begin to settle in the healing process. There's a lot of swelling going on because they cut the rectum from the bladder, which are fused in, natal growth. So the tissue between the rectal tissue and the bladder tissue is just fascia. There's not much room, but they split the two, and that is where they put the colon tube. So all of that is swollen. Excuse me. Chances are you're going to have to adjust and most likely relearn how to walk. Your basal muscles are going to be very different than you knew and before, and may result in upper body compensation. So your body is going to, because your lower muscles aren't going to be what they were before you went into the surgery. There's going to be a lot of shoulder pushing up with your arms and doing other stuff because there is not going to be a pelvic floor to like stand up with. I had an athletic trainer work with me for a couple of months, and we were doing basic things like putting my arms out in front of me and just
Oh yeah.
up like that, was nearly impossible there for a little while, and it took a lot of coming back. So having an athletic trainer help you through that process is really beneficial. Dusty Highland down in Santa Barbara, huge props to old Dusty. He definitely is the reason I was able to get 4 days on my snowboard this past winter. I'm a 31-year snowboarder, so a season without snow is a hard thing to deal with, and that was my motivator to get back to myself after the surgery was, can I ride? I got 4 days. So during this time, the pain is going to be very confusing, and if not managed, downright debilitating. It's going to last around the 4th or 5th week. It might feel like a 3rd-degree burn all across your genital region.
Wow.
That pain will trigger a response in your brain that tells you of the anatomy that you used to know, but is not something entirely new. Now, the wording there is a little bit bad. I was definitely on a lot of pain meds when I wrote that. These are called ghost pains. What I'm talking about, and I still have these things. I'll have like a nerve sensation where I'll be like, oh, I gotta scratch my balls. But there ain't no balls there to scratch anymore. Right? The scrotum nerve that used to be the scrotum is now my left labia. So the brain fuck, the rewiring that I've had to consciously make an effort to do and be aware of has been substantial. I think that would be also something that would be experienced with the inversion technique. So that's probably not unique to this one. However, the gleeking, because it is colonic, there is going to be a lot of discharge, especially in the beginning. Nutrition is going to be key in that healing process. You don't have a choice but to make sure what you put in is premier ingredients in easily digestible foods. Staying away from fatty meats and pizzas and other high residue foods for that first 90 days. Focusing on fiber, micronutrients, minerals, vitamins, proteins. Hydration will be paramount. There's going to be a lot of diarrhea A lot of in that early couple of weeks, that digestive system is wrecked. Nothing works right. So it's, lot. I lost 37 pounds in a
Wow.
month. My body
Wow.
went into ketocytosis. Um,
Holy
Not
shit.
fun. It was definitely not fun. You don't
Not fun.
you
No,
don't
you
want
are
that.
completely correct
You
on that
definitely don't want
shit.
that. And if you can stock up with fat, like my body doesn't retain fat. I've tried and I just can't put weight on. So I hadn't anything to lose. So it was a dangerous situation for me, and it was bad. Um, Stay away from dehydration. Expect that your body will lose a considerable amount of weight, likely between 10 to 40 pounds. And if on the higher end, your body may enter ketocytosis, where it begins to consume itself. This sucks and you don't want it. It is important to stock up on fat prior to surgery and fight like hell to put it back on during recovery. You're going to want a sitting donut or a butt cushion with a recessed area.
Oh
Square
yeah.
ones with little U-shaped cutouts are great. You want to sleep on your back using these for about 50 days. Slight elevation of the legs while sleeping is helpful during those first 2 months. If you have pets, once you're tucked in, right, gently lay a pillow longwise on top of yourself to prevent accidentally being pounced on, because your abdomen will not appreciate being jabbed by either cat,
Yes.
dog, or bunny.
Yeah.
Prepare your recovery location with your movies, games, puzzles, making long-term plans. You're going to be on your butt for a long time, so do something with the time that you got on your butt, right? It's a great way to avoid pitfalls, is to have something to look forward to. The pitfalls of depression, of just being stuck in one place,
Yep.
have something to
Yep.
look forward to. Drinking straws, right, are probably going to become your new best friends. Because you're just constantly going to be fluid. But some straws are long if you're drinking out of a can, if you're drinking out of a cup. So, making custom drinking straws, it's a simple little activity, but it will take your mind off of
it's a
how
simple it's a
screwed up
simple
you are.
activity.
Right on. It helped. Ensure and Kern strings, ensure bottles and Kern strings. They're different lengths. So if you got like a long straw sticking out of a short little bottle, you feel like, it's like trying to drink like a giraffe neck. But if the straw is close to the bottle, it's a lot easier to maintain. I liked to sleep cold, live warm. Keeping the adequate ventilation was important. Changing your bed sheets as needed, or at the very least weekly. It's something that your caregiver can do when you're watching TV or something, when you're not in bed. Your immune system will be compromised, and you can't afford to risk illness, like flu or otherwise. If you're unlucky enough, like I was, to think I was okay and I went out to dinner, the next morning I woke up sick as dog. And it turned out I had gotten norovirus at the
Oh
restaurant.
no.
Oh, yes. So it just, oh, God. So, yeah, it just turned into, it was bad. Anyway, it put me in the hospital. I went to St. John's in Santa Barbara, for 4 days. And they had me in an infectious care unit where everybody who came in had to don personal protective gear, coming in yellow smocks. And it turned out that I had a high viral load of norovirus. I thought I was going to die. I thought it was it. So, keeping clean, doing the whole viral thing, Lysoling, masking is probably not a bad idea, but norovirus is, that one in particular is contact transmitted. So I got that from a fork or a cup or the Uber or something. So that's it. That was the end of my writing. As far as being dropped in the hospital,
Yes,
they
I would
told me it
love to
was,
discuss this.
oh, good God. First of all, when they told me it was Culver City, like Southern California Hospital, right? Culver City. That just sounds bad, you know?
That just sounds bad, she says.
Southern California Hospital. I mean, you can't even call it turns out the place used to be called Brotman, and it was closed and shut down because of it being a bad hospital. So Southern California Hospital apparently is an organization that has gone around and bought up defunct, failing hospitals, slapped a new name on it, and rebranded them and
Oh
reopened them.
wow.
Jag, this place was horrible. And
Those
I've
look
Google reviewed it,
horrible.
and it's like everybody's had the same experience. So I'm not like the only one with it. You know how like in hospitals for the most part, there's a little button on your bed that's a nurse call button, or at the very least one of those phones with the wires that you do and calls the nurse's station.
Oh yeah.
They gave everybody in this hospital, including me, a bell. Like you get at a
Oh
service
my
desk. Ding, ding,
God!
ding,
They
ding, ding,
gave
ding.
you a bell.
A bell. Like Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad. Ding, 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 ding.
That is fucking wild.
And so one day early there, when I was first, it was the first day there, I had to ring my bell because I was like all down in my bed. My back was all jacked up, my neck was all hurting, and I asked him to help me scooch up in the bed. So a nurse, and what I think was a nutritionist, I don't think she was a nurse because she was the one that brought me the food. They got on both sides of the bed and they lifted up the pad thing that I was laying on, and they lifted me up and they moved me a couple inches forward, and then they just dropped me. And
Holy smokes.
I felt an immediate, and it hurt but it hurt. Inside, right at the surgical site, which was off to the left, where they had cut, like they did this whole thing laparoscopically. So they cut me a new belly button. Basically, they made me a new belly button. It's kind of cute. Like I don't know, it's
That
weird.
belly button's kind of cute. There it is.
Yeah, a little belly button. So I want one over here now, because then I could at least like
That,
connect them.
that, 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 there you go. Then you can
Yeah,
maximize and
yeah,
stylize,
connect
do all the
dots.
stuff.
So yeah, they dropped me in the bed. Right behind that belly button, I felt it, and it screamed. I was like, "Oh my god!" Ah. And then I asked Dr. Sinclair if he would just please discharge me a day early. They were going to keep me there till like Friday. I got out of there on Wednesday because of the bell, because of the drug mismanagement. I figured if I was going to be in pain, I could be in pain at home. There was no air conditioning. The place was like hot.
Oh
Um,
no.
I heard somebody else across the hall yelling, basically expressing the same sentiments I had. They're like, "This is fucked up. I gotta get out of here. This place." Rah, rah, rah. Pardon my language, but
Oh,
that's
you're
what they
good,
said.
baby. You're good.
Um, I mean, the president says it, right? Um, so yeah, like it was bad. It was a really bad place, and no, that Southern California hospital, Acme General, literally, that's what went through my mind when I first read the hospital orders of where I was having the surgery performed, and I was like, oh, Acme General, that doesn't sound good. And my intuition was spot on. I mean, short of not having had the surgery, it would not have been an incorrect move to have turned around and hightailed it the moment I arrived at that hospital that morning.
Yep.
Because as we were
Yep.
pulling up to the
Yep.
hospital, I saw zombies standing in the road. I don't know, fentanyl, whatever that happened. People just standing there, stuck. And it was a sketchy part of town. And I walked into the front. I don't know. I guess that was the front of the hospital, the front room. It was a desk. Literally, I walked into a white room. There's a desk with a person sitting behind it. That was the reception area of the hospital. It was sketchy. So it was a ghetto experience for me. So it is probably. But if it's the worst case scenario, providing it to today's modern, transitioning community or the modern medical community who might benefit from knowing these things, being met with the resistance that it was met with from the civil rights person from Stonewall, who had, they did what they did, but their civil rights, what hasn't, we are still under attack. So if
Well,
they're they were claiming, it got some of the correspondence I got from this person was like, oh, well, if you want to play who's bigger, and it was I was like, not playing who's bigger. That's not. We really need to be
That's
working
not what this is
together rather than
about.
segregating ourselves from within.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
not what
trans
this is
community
about.
is really good for separating itself from internally. It's like mitosis.
Yes.
Over simple stuff, it just
Yes.
splits. And I feel like those, excuse me, airport flu is still with me. And I have a lot of love to give in my lungs right now. Um, the the elder community shouldn't be discounting a report such as the one I wrote in regard to what I went through for colonic recovery, especially when they talked about this particular one, talked about, it was like, I've been post-op for 34 years. Well, 34 years ago, this surgery wasn't the one that was performed. So, I'm simply sharing what happened to me, right?
Yes.
And then everybody was, not everybody, but I got a lot of feedback saying, oh, this is scare tactics and don't listen to this girl because she doesn't. I'm like, hey, take it or leave it, whatever. This is what went down. And if I'd have been a little better prepared, I wouldn't have gotten caught off guard. So, if it helps, cool. If it doesn't, walk on. But the condemnation, that's what disturbs me about the having to claim, oh, it's been 34 years. Oh, I'm an elder. Oh. It's like, whoa. The elders with that type of a mentality, it's no wonder the trans community divides from within.
Yes.
We all have to be working as a team, yet at the same point in time, the APA has bastardized the definition of trans in general. We have transgender, we have transsexual.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Well, everybody who's transgender, that's just a wide open umbrella of non-binary or pre-op transit, or people who are trying to transition but then may or may not have access to medical care, which then, having left where I left when I left and had to travel across the country in a broken, illegal, uninsured, unregistered truck thing that shouldn't have even been on the road, just so that I could access the medical care that I've accessed. That was my story. So when people say, "Oh, I can't access the medical care," how bad do you really want it, and what are you willing to risk to get it?
Yeah.
For me, it was, if I'd have gotten caught, I'd have been in a lot of trouble. I was driving an illegal, unregistered, uninsured vehicle across the country. It had no brakes, no. It had holes in the upper part of its gas tank. I mean, it was bad, and it was either going to be me or it. I had no choice. I had been kicked out of where I lived back east. I didn't have anywhere to go. And I had just encountered the groovy contingent for the first time in my life. And it was like having met a family that I never knew I had. So that's all I could figure on, is maybe I'd be safe there. Turned out it was, God bless the groovy land. It wasn't an end for me. It was a rest stop. It was a place to be. It was definitely something that made things possible for me that otherwise wouldn't have happened had it not been, working closely with. And, for that, I'll always be grateful. And I'll always do my best to support it because of knowing what it did, how it enabled me and how it has helped me through my transformative years, psychologically, physically, fiscally, materially. That is why I still support it, is because that being passed on to those who are coming behind me is all I can do. And the annual sponsorship of the teas, that is so that the mechanism may continue.
Yes.
part of it as much as I was years ago anymore. No, I'm sort of on the fringes. I'm I'd like to be less on the fringes, but I know that it's better that I stay away because of what's happened to me and how it has affected my perspective on myself in the world and just the world around me. So, security is a big issue with me right now.
Yes.
And the accusations
As it should be.
and all the other horrible stuff that I've had to deal with that shouldn't necessarily have been that way, but that's how it turned out. Yeah, it's just, that's where a lot of my focus is stuck nowadays. So I think I'm moving to Alaska, Jiggy. Like I was here in California for. I
I know
mean,
a
I've
lot of people that have moved to Alaska and they
really
love it.
right on. I've been up there twice. Halibut fishing and whatnot. I've made some friends up there. I hold that 25-ton master license, and being able to operate a vessel in an environment where there's an inflated economy. I used to drive charter boats on Lake Tahoe. We have an inflated economy. I could make $800 a day there for driving a boat around, driving drunk people around in a boat.
Yep.
And it was easy work. Alaska is going to be different, but in certain places there is that high-end tourism bubble, which is hopefully where I could find myself working eventually, doing what I love to do, but then also synergizing the need for big mountains and big snow. So Tahoe was that for a long time for me, but now chronologically as a snowboarder and progression always being the drive and the reason behind decisions that I make. So many of my decisions in my life have been made because of snowboarding. I met Jake Burton when I was 19 years old up in Stowe, Vermont. So it's been something that's defined my life. And, Alaska's the next chronological step. It's the next place. So going
Yeah.
after this that I once knew in Tahoe with, being able to manage my maritime operations with big mountain snowboarding, and also having, California, gotta love the land, gotta love the fishing, the mountains, but it is a very restrictive place. Very
Yes.
restrictive place.
Yes.
And it's time, I think, for me to venture on. So yeah, I've already put it into motion. Be aiming. I'm aiming to Anchorage. I've got to actually pick up a rental truck this week and run it from here in Northern California up to Bellingham, Washington. Put a bunch of stuff in storage, and then I'm going to come back down. I'm going to clean up some of this stuff. Then I'm going to head east for a little while. I'm going to do some fish tours this summer, and then come back out at the end of July and pick up the truck and start incrementally moving my stuff up there. It's going to take a minute because of the boat, the 2 trucks, the cargo trailer, and then all my stuff. Not all of it goes to Alaska, but a lot of it does. Eventually, I'm going to have to drag the boat up there or put it on the Marine Highway ferry.
Yeah.
I might just sell the boat down here and put it into another vessel up there, because my fiberglass boat isn't necessarily most vessels in Alaska are aluminum, and my fiberglass boat is not aluminum. But I built it, and if it could somehow make it to Alaska, the little boat that could, I personify everything. So my little boat's like, dragging along. Yeah, that would be a pretty cool. That thing came from New Jersey. It came all the way across the country. It went back to the East Coast, and it came all the way back out west. Then it got torn apart, rebuilt with timbers from the Lake Tahoe Basin, and then the whole deck and all the floor. And then we put that 115 on the back of it, which is like an old engine that I wanted so bad when I was younger, but they were like 20 grand, and I got that one for 3. So that boat's got a lot of love, old love, just like, I don't know. I would like for it to like outlive me, really. Somebody can have that boat someday, and yeah, this is my just the way everybody was all stoked about Jimmy Buffett's boat. I want somebody to be stoked about
That's
like
awesome. That's awesome.
So that's it. That's
Well, I'll
what's
tell
happening. Oh,
you.
gleeks. Gleeking. I want to go back to the colonic vaginoplasty thing really quick.
Yes, go.
There have been a lot of questions. People have been like, God, doesn't that stink? It's your colon. Ew. Who's going to eat that? And, you bring good points. So here's what's up. And this is all real time because I'm living it. This is what I'm learning. This is how I'm dealing with my life. This is how my life has changed. There is definitely a sloughing for the first bunch of months where the cells from the inside of that length of colon are being excreted and sloughing in a mucus. The mucus is colonic mucus. It's a lot like snot. It's clear. It's the same stuff that during anal sex is duck butter or, whatever. I call it duck butter, but, the slippery, slimy shit that is the result of anal sex. It's that stuff without at first, there is still not fecal matter, but it's in the cells. It's been that tube has been transporting your poop for however long you've been alive. So yeah, the cells kind of stink.
Yeah.
Okay, can you still hear me?
I've got you.
Okay, cool. My phone just went off and it.
No. I'm here. I'm listening, friend.
So yeah, it stinks. It stinks for a bit. So you get, but during the earlier periods when you're in recovery, it doesn't matter because everything stinks. You're dealing with just everything that smells like open ass and tuna fish. So as time has gone on, I've had these nighttime emissions, right? Where at first it would be the smell that would wake me up, and I wasn't sure what the hell was going on, and I was like, what am I smelling? And I like to wear big fuzzy onesie pajamas, and so I'd find this goop like down one of my pant legs and my big fuzzy pajamas. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it was this sloughing, right? This cell sloughing, where for some reason it only happens when I'm sleeping, and this goop, it stinks. It smells like dead worms, comes out of the vagina. There were a couple of times in the early, like, it wasn't too early. It was around New Year's, where solid material that was, damn it, it was like poop, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was sloughed skin cells that had been exposed to fecal matter, but it wasn't actual fecal matter. It was hard to explain it. I actually had to pick one up and like break it open to see what the fuck I was dealing with, because it came out of me and I was like, what the fuck is this? That happened twice. It happens maybe 2 times a week, and I've learned to, it's basically like I either have to wear a maxi pad or just keep tight underwear on and be ready to change it in the middle of the night if I wake up and I smell it. It happened
You've been
twice.
you've been through it, my friend.
Yeah, well, this one what just happened last night, I don't know if it was alarming or not, because it happened last night, right? I woke up to pee and there's that smell. I dropped and I looked at it, and there was an actual chunk of tissue. This was not colon material. This was fucking colon tissue.
Yeah.
And I washed it down the sink and it got caught in the trap. So I picked it up and I actually looked at it, smelled it. So I was like, oh.
So
But
Micah, we are running up against the clock here, because
so
I've got a couple.
20 seconds here.
I've got guests that are coming. Before
I'm done talking.
I let you
That's
go,
the truth of what happens.
before I let you go, because I definitely want to do a part two when we have more time. How do people keep up with your adventures and everything that you're doing?
Oh, well, you can find me on Facebook on MichaAngelea.com, even though I'm not really putting a
Okay.
lot of stuff up there right now. Instagram at TS Micha Angela, MichaAngela, MichaAngela.com. I'm on the Bird also at TS Micha Angela. Just follow me mainly on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is the same thing, TS Micha Angela.
Fantastic.
And that, yeah, pretty much that's it. We're looking at some other type. Like I just started a pet care line, which I haven't even put out to the world yet, but that's coming soon. It's
Okay.
furball.com. It's PHURBAUGH furball.com. And that'll be fun just because why not? I love fish and furball.
Why
So
not?
why not?
Well,
So yeah, that's all.
you have been amazing as always. I hate that you had the issues that you had, but I'm not shocked by them because that
I would
that
love to be
that
reached out to by
organization over
Exxxotica
there,
and we could
those
figure it out because
organizations, yeah.
I'm not anti Exxxotica. Like I would
No,
go back,
I'm not either.
continue
I
doing the
just don't.
seminar,
I just don't
but
like the
they need to
management.
reach out to me and if it means me
But
having a specific security guard for the duration of the time that I'm there, then that's what we do.
yeah.
Send me somebody I can work with.
Well, you are amazing. I love our conversations, and I cannot wait for our next one. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day, my friend.
You too, Jiggy Jaguar. Thank you so much for having me on
Appreciate
board.
it. Appreciate it.
And thank you so much
Thank
for
you, my
listening out
friend.
there, world. Bye.
There she goes. That's Micha Angelea. She is our guest this week here on the Jiggy Jaguar Experience. We're going to go to our next guest here in just a few seconds. And